There is a secret temple hidden inside of Chapter 1 in Black Myth Wukong, and I'm going to quickly go through all 3 locations of bells that you need to hit to unlock the secret area. This video is going to contain a lot of spoilers, especially if you haven't played this game yet, so just giving you heads up now. So let's get into it. Now, like I mentioned in the beginning of this game, there's going to be 3 separate bells that you need to hit to actually unlock this area. The first one can be found outside the forest, inside of the Forest of the Wolves location. I want you to follow the pathing that I'm showing you here on the screen because it's going to take you to a small mini boss fight that you have to complete first to be able to ring this bell. Thankfully, since this is at the very beginning of the game, the enemies that you're going to come across are not all that difficult, so you can easily run past all these enemies, and they will also not follow you into this boss fight, which is another nice touch. Now, this boss fight that you have to complete is also against another staff user, except this staff has a bunch of fire mechanics around it, and he does attack you from different ranges. So just keep that in mind when you are fighting him. All you need to know though is that you need to defeat this guy, and when you do defeat this guy, you'll actually be able to get his staff and also a brand new spell, which I won't spoil for you if you haven't gotten to this location yet. But now that you have defeated him, all you have to do is go to the back of this clearing and you'll see an item that is interactable. That's going to be your very first spell that you have to ring. Once you interact with this spell, you'll have a small cutscene that plays with a bunch of birds flying away from you because you're echoing throughout the entire forest, and you'll have some small dialogue. All you need to know is that you've completed 1 of 3 and you can now progress through the level. The second bell that you have to ring is going to be found near Snake Trail in the Bamboo Grove, just a little bit further into the Chapter 1 level. Now, this bell will be much easier to come across because it's actually through the main path you have to go to actually progress through this level, through the mini boss that I'll be talking about here in a second, and it's just a little bit off the main path. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a second. Make your way through the bamboo grove with the undead snakes and the living snakes until you get to a small clearing where you have to interact with a small boss that shoots electric balls of energy at you and also summon snakes to shoot poison at you. Not one of my favorite boss fights in this game, but it's something that you get to deal with. Now, once you have defeated this boss, you'll see 2 different routes that you can go. One is through an archway with fire in front of it, and another one is allowing you to go up the hill. You want to take the path that goes up the hill because in the distance you'll see another little awning with another bell that you get to interact with. Same exact idea as the previous one. Ring the bell, you're going to have a small cutscene and then a little bit of dialogue to signify that you completed this. If you're doing these in order, this is of course 2 out of 3, and the third one thankfully is not very far away. And when I say not too far away, I quite literally mean the next section. You want to start from the Bamboo Grove Marsh of the White Mist location, the very first spawn point that you get for the White Mist, and as you may have guessed at this point, you're going to have to go down and defeat another mini boss. This boss is actually going to be one of the more tougher bosses you come across in Chapter 1 in my opinion, so be prepared for a fight that has 2 phases on it. The White Clad Noble is definitely one of the more interesting boss fights in my opinion in Chapter 1, so I won't say much more about the actual fight itself. I hope you enjoy the fight. I know I did, even though it took me a couple tries. After you defeat the White Clad Noble, you're going to start to notice 2 things. One, they start talking about the bells the very first time since you defeated him, and they'll talk about all 3. Thankfully, you've already got 2 and I'm done, and the third one is very close by. 2, once you ring this third bell, you will be automatically teleported to the next location. Now, let you know this, from where you defeat the White Clad Noble, you'll see 2 different directions you can go. One is going to go into a cave up some steps, or you can go left towards looks like another cave, but a smaller one with some light at the end. You want to go to the path that's on the left. This cave will spit you out into a small clearing that has a couple different wolf enemies that you need to defeat, a body that is hanging right next to another awning that's going to have your third and final bell that you need to ring. Once you defeat these wolf enemies, I want you to pay attention to that body that's hanging right next to the bell because you're going to have to come back for that later because there's going to be something on there once you complete the boss in this hidden temple. Now, finally, ringing the third and final bell, you'll have another small cutscene with a little bit of dialogue, but then you will automatically be teleported off to a distant temple. You'll recognize this temple from earlier on in the game because you fought a boss in this area, but it almost looks as if it's stuck in time in a different time period. You'll also notice that this temple is not very large, but there are 3 chests that you can open to get a couple different materials for different crafting items and also a brand new piece of armor that you can equip if you'd like to. Personally, I did not end up equipping it, but you guys can do what you want to do with that. In the next large room, you're going to come across your big boss fight in this secret area that you need to defeat to simply progress and unlock a very unique item, which we'll talk about later on inside of this video. All you need to know is that this is a fun boss fight. It's not very difficult, very easy mechanics to figure out. I'm not going to spoil it for you, just simply enjoy. Now once you have defeated this boss, you're going to get a final ending cutscene, and then you'll be teleported back to the third bell that you rang. You'll get a bunch of different items for your trouble in defeating this boss, but the main thing that you want to go back to when you get teleported back to the third bell is go back to that body I was talking about before you got teleported to this ancient temple. You will very quickly see that it says examine on this body, and as soon as you interact with this body, it's going to disintegrate, but at the same time give you a very powerful item, especially for the final boss fight in chapter 1. This item is going to be the fireproof mantle, which is very helpful because it definitely negates a lot more fire damage than you might think. Even though it says it negates it, it does a lot more than what it's already stated. And not only does it help you against fire damage, when you have it equipped, it gradually increases your focus, which is super helpful when you want to land those heavy attacks in some of the bigger boss battles inside of this game. Now, just like some of your other options that you can use inside this game like spirits, it does have a gauge and only allows you to use it for a certain amount of time, but you'll very quickly see how powerful it is when you actually have some fire around you that is trying to burn you, and how quickly your meter increases when you're actually wearing this mantle. So I think it's a great pickup. There's no reason not to do this, especially at the beginning of the game. But that's how you can get to the secret temple inside of Black Myth Wukong in chapter 1. It's fantastic that they put something so early on in the game that does take some time to actually figure out. I think it's a great addition to a game just like this. Nonetheless, I hope you guys found this location guide helpful. If you did, make sure to hit the like, subscribe button so you know that you did, and I'll catch you in the next video.